Hello everybody and welcome to another Top 5 board gaming video. Today's topic is all about steampunk, but before I get started, if you haven't done so already, please take a look at all of my various social media pages as well as my Patreon page. On all of those, you'll be able to interact with myself and my channel in a whole bunch of really cool ways. So to kick it off, for those of you who are uninitiated, steampunk is essentially an alternate universe that takes place in the Victorian era. You've got a lot of exposed gearing, telescopic mechanical devices, and everything obviously runs off of steam. There's a lot of bronze and brass type coloration, a lot of browns, and like I said, a lot of exposed gears, wires, and all of that sort of thing, while at the same time you have the fashion sense of Victorian England, which means you've got top hats, really nice poofy dresses, vests, and all sorts of other cool stuff. It's a really interesting aesthetic. I'm not personally into it, but there are a lot of games, shows, movies, and all sorts of other different stuff that go into it pretty in depth. But that said, we're here to talk about board games, and these are board games that take the idea of steampunk and put it into a game in some form or another, and I'm really excited to hear what you guys have to say about it. So what are your favorite steampunk games? Do you not really like it? Please let me know anything and everything in the comments below. But with that, we are going to go ahead and get started with my number 5. At number 5, I've got Spearium. This is a worker placement game where the idea is that you are rebuilding a factory to try to collect resources and essentially gain favor and all of that good stuff in Victorian England. But that said, it's really low on the list because honestly, the steampunk theme really doesn't come out very well on it. It's an okay worker placement and you do get a little bit of that steampunkiness. You can tell by the cover that you do have the color scheme going on, but again, that's why it's so low on the list. It's still a decent game, but Spearium is my number 5. At number 4, I've got Planet Steam. This is a much meatier economic control game where you have various things similar to like Power Grid, where you've got constantly fluctuating prices of different things. You can flood the market, you can buy everything and hoard it, you can do all sorts of different stuff like that. But once again, you're essentially trying to make resources, make a name for yourself, and be the best of everybody who is out there. Again, you can see that the actual steampunk theme is quite evident, not only from the name, but just from the cover itself. You've got that color palette going. And again, this is a much meatier and frankly a better playing game overall compared to Spearium, but Planet Steam, my number 4. At number 3, I've got Sky Traders. This actually takes the mechanics of the other games that I've already talked about and essentially builds on them. In addition to the economic aspect of buying, selling, trading, as well as building, you also have the ability to pirate, avoid pirates, and essentially try to influence everything that's going on. You're trying to subvert your opponent's actions and do all sorts of other stuff. Again, very much in the spirit of Queen Victoria and Victorian England and all of the palace intrigue type of stuff that's going on. It does a decent job of balancing everything, but on occasion some stuff does tend to get lost in the mush. And once again, looking at the theme as well as the color palette in this case, you can see this is actually a much brighter color palette overall, but it still definitely comes through as a steampunk for the most part at least, but that's why it's sort of middle of this list, is because the theme doesn't actually come through quite as much. Regardless, Sky Traders, my number 3. At number 2, I've got Steamworks. As its name implies, not only is this steampunk, but it's also a worker placement game. The idea is that you're going to be collecting parts and pieces and components for different devices that you're trying to build up that hopefully you as well as your opponents will end up using. The reason that this is so high on the list is not only the fact that the theme comes through in spades with this particular game, but also that for me personally, this is what I think of whenever I think of steampunk. I always think of the idea of engineering and building and devices and, you know, just stuff happening, mechanical things and Jacob ladders and Tesla coils and all of that great stuff. And it's great because that's exactly what this game does, and that's the whole point of it, is that you're trying to build these devices that serve some particular purpose. It's a ton of fun. Steamworks, my number 2. At number 1, I've got Steampunk Rally. This is a great game that combines all of the stuff that I've already talked about through this video, where we've got building a device, in this case a vehicle. We've got the really heavy steampunk theme. In this case, it actually says steampunk on it, but we've also got the color palette and all of that other great stuff, where in this game, we're going on a race. That's the entire point, and you're trying to build up your vehicle, you're trying to get the different components that give you specific dice that allow you to attack or defend, go faster, go slower, whatever it happens to be, and even potentially fly a little bit to an extent. It's a really fun little game that allows you to mix and match different components, and again, I love that aspect of the theme of steampunk where you're actually building and designing and doing something with a device in the steampunk era. Steampunk Rally, my number one. Well, everybody, that's going to be it for me. I hope that you enjoyed this video on my top 5 favorite steampunk themed games. Again, this is a pretty broad category, and you guys might have different opinions on just what is even considered to be a steampunk game. So please let me know anything and everything that you think in the comments below, because you guys know I love to hear from you. But with that, thank you very, very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.